All right, let's dive right in. Ever wonder what's really going on inside your computer? Today, we're pulling back the curtain to explore the digital highways that make everything tick.
So, let's kick things off with a big question. How in the world do all the different parts inside your computer actually talk to each other? I mean, how does the brain talk to the memory? Or how does your keyboard talk to the screen?
Okay, to get our heads around this, I want you to imagine a big, bustling city. You've got your offices, your homes, factories, the whole shebang. Now, what if I told you there were no roads? Nothing could get from point A to point B. It'd be complete and utter chaos, wouldn't it?
Yeah, total chaos. Well, that chaos is pretty much the core communication problem inside every single computer. Without those roads, without those connections, you just have a box full of fancy but totally silent and isolated parts. This idea of interconnection is what makes it all work.
Think about it. Your computer is like this super specialized team. You've got the CPU, that's the brain, the big boss. You've got memory, which is like the team's short-term memory. And then you have your input and output devices, your keyboard and your monitor. They all have their own jobs, but they're useless unless they can coordinate.
And that system that connects them all? That's what we call the interconnection structure. It's literally the highway system for that digital city we were just talking about. It's how information gets from point A to point B, safe and sound.
Without a proper structure, things would get really weird and honestly pretty funny. Imagine your computer parts trying to text each other on WhatsApp. The CPU's like, hey, memory, I need that data ASAP. And memory just sends back, the three little dots, typing. The whole system would just grind to a halt.
So how do we solve this mess? What's the solution to this potential digital gridlock? Well, in most computers, the answer is something called the system bus. This is the main highway, the central artery that everything uses to communicate.
So, what is a system bus? It's really just a shared pathway for communication. Think of it as a set of electrical wires that data, instructions, and control signals can all travel on. It's a really simple but super effective way to get all the components on the same page.
But here's the cool part. The system bus isn't just one road. It's actually 3 different types of highways all bundled together. First up, you have the data bus. This carries the actual information, the what, and it's bidirectional. Data can go back and forth. Then you've got the address bus. This tells the data where to go, like a street address, and it's unidirectional. It only sends info one way. And finally, there's the control bus, which is like the traffic cop, managing the whole show with signals like read this or write that.
Okay, let's put this into practice. The width of a bus is a huge deal. It's how many bits it can carry at one time. So here's a question for you. If a data bus has a width of 32 bits, how much data can it actually move in one go, in a single clock cycle?
Did you get it? The answer is 4 bytes. Pretty simple, right? Since there are 8 bits in every byte, a 32-bit bus can shuttle 4 bytes of data every single time the computer's clock ticks. Easy.
Now, the width of the address bus is just as important. Why? Because it dictates how much memory the CPU can even see. So a 16-bit address bus can point to 2 to the power of 16 locations, which comes out to exactly 65,536 unique spots in memory. A wider address bus means the computer can handle a lot more RAM.
And this analogy just hits the nail on the head. Making a bus wider is literally like upgrading a tiny 2-lane country road to a massive 6-lane expressway. You get more data moving at the same time, which means everything just gets faster.
All right, so we get the idea of the bus, this digital highway. But how are these things actually designed? How are they laid out? Well, it turns out there's more than one way to build a road system. Let's check out 3 of the big architectural designs.
First up, we have the simplest approach, the single bus structure. Just like it sounds, every single component connects to one shared bus. The upside? It's super simple and really cheap to make. That's why you see it in things like microcontrollers. But the downside is huge. It creates a massive performance bottleneck. It's like a whole city trying to use one single main street. Only one conversation can happen at a time, and everything else has to wait. So to get around that traffic jam, we can level up to a multiple bus structure. This is what you'll find in most modern PCs. The idea is to have different buses for different jobs, like a super fast local bus just for the CPU and memory, and then a separate slower bus for everything else. This means way better performance and less congestion, but as you can probably guess, it's also more complex and costs more to build.
But what if you need the absolute best performance, and money is no object? Then you've got the crossbar switch. Forget shared roads. This is a grid of direct point-to-point connections. It allows tons of parallel conversations to happen all at once at insane speeds. Of course, it is wildly expensive and incredibly complex, which is why you really only see it in things like supercomputers or massive network gear.
And just to give you an idea of how complex this gets, check this out. For a tiny system with just 4 devices and 4 memory modules, a crossbar switch needs 16 separate, dedicated switches. Now try to imagine that scaling up to a system with dozens of components. The hardware required is just astronomical.
Yeah, the best way to think about a crossbar switch is like a VIP road system for your computer. Every single component gets its own private, direct route to wherever it wants to go. There's no traffic, no waiting, no congestion, just pure, unadulterated speed.
Okay, so we've looked at the blueprints, the different ways to build these connections. But let's bring it all back to what really matters: speed. How does all this architectural stuff actually impact how fast your computer feels?
Well, it really boils down to 3 key things. First, bus width. We've talked about this. More lanes means more data can travel at once. Simple. Then you've got bus speed, which is the clock frequency. Think of this as the speed limit on that highway. And finally, and this one is crucial, bus arbitration. This is basically the traffic cop who decides who gets to use the bus and when.
And this analogy is just perfect. Bus arbitration is exactly like being in a classroom where every device is raising its hand and shouting, "Sir, pick me first." The arbitration logic is the teacher, who keeps order, making sure everyone gets a turn to speak, and preventing all-out chaos and data collisions.
So let's put it all together and get a real number. The total data transfer rate of a bus is called its bandwidth. So, if you have a 64-bit wide bus and it's running at a clock frequency of 100 megahertz, you get a theoretical bandwidth of 6.4 gigabits per second. That right there is the absolute top speed of that digital highway.
And all of this brings us to one final big question for the future. As our CPUs and our memory just keep getting ridiculously faster, the challenge of actually connecting them gets harder and harder. So as we keep building these ever more powerful computers, how are these digital highways going to have to evolve to stop us from hitting the ultimate system-wide traffic jam?